All right, today we're going to talk about why blogging is still the fastest way to grow your business organically. So first of all, what is a blog, right? I think it gets this really negative connotation because of what we perceive a blog to be. But realistically, a blog is any post that you see online, right? It could be an article on ESPN, it could be a news update on CNN, right? But I think we have this perception that a blog is something that your grandma does or your mom used to do way back in the day to talk about their skincare. And that's just not the reality of the situation. A blog is anything that you publish that is text, basically, as a post on your website. All right, and then so the next thing I get when I hear resistance to blogging, as far as whether I should be or shouldn't be doing that, or whether you should or shouldn't be doing it with your business, is you hear a lot of people talk about growth hacks and ninja strategies, right? And I think the big perception is whether or not these things are real. There's a lot of people focused on growing their audience to get to build their traffic, to grow their email list, or to sell their services. And I'm going to talk to you why I think that's total nonsense and why blogging is still far superior to any of these other mediums in terms of actually driving traffic and building discoverability for your brand. Here's the problem with only social media. Social media is a great nurture strategy, but it's terrible for discoverability. And I'm going to tell you why. All right, let's imagine you're sitting at home and you're just perusing through Instagram, right? You're just scrolling through your feed. You're not there with the mental framework of looking for something in particular in terms of buying something from a brand. That doesn't mean that you can have pattern disruption occur, meaning you're scrolling, you see something that appeals to you, right? Somebody's advertisement, somebody promoting something for their brand or what have you, and then you stumble across their page and say, this is something that I want to follow. But it's far less likely, because think about what's going through that person's mind. They're probably just there to look at pictures, maybe they're there to see what their friends are up to, maybe they're just there for inspiration about something, but they're not there with really an intent to discover something that you're offering. Again, it doesn't mean you can't have that happen, it's just far less likely. Now, let's go on the flip side. You're watching this video, right? It's likely that you searched for a topic relating to blogging, and thus you had the mentality or the framework to find something specific as it relates to what you're watching right now. The same is true for a blog. The same is true for any search platform. So when you are looking for somebody's article or you stumble upon somebody's article, it's likely that you put into your search query, likely on Google or Safari or something, that I'm looking for X, right? And it led you to where you are right now reading a blog or watching this video, right? So it's people with far more intent than what a general person is perusing through social media. The other thing is this too, is that once you have come to my YouTube channel or watched this video, or you've gone and you watched, and specifically talking about blogs, you've gone and you read my blog, I have numerous opportunities to capture an email within those parameters, within the confines of that engagement. Whereas on social media, it's limited in terms of what I can actually do. I can put a link, and even on Instagram, I have to put my link in my bio. So it's just more unlikely that you're going to scroll through. The last thing too is that the life of one of those posts is probably severely limited, whereas the life of a blog or a YouTube video actually probably gets better over time, specifically if it's high relevant content, right? So for example, when you tweet something, the average life of that tweet is about 30 seconds in the newsfeed. So that all said, if someone doesn't see it within that 30-second window, it's probably gone forever. How often have you gone through and scrolled down somebody's profile or on somebody's feed or what have you to see what they posted 2 years ago? You might be watching this video right now, or you might have read one of my blogs that was several years old, but it compounds interest, so to speak, over time, and it gradually gets better and better and better if you build relevant, high-ranking content. So another huge benefit, because I don't mind churning the wheel and continue to hustle, but I'd like for those efforts to be able to pay off over time the longer it's alive, right? So that's a really huge benefit of blogging over just social media, and why blogging is really powerful, and things that are on search, like YouTube, like Pinterest, like blogging, are really, really powerful. So just to give you an example, we have over 50,000 plus, it might be more than that, it might be like 75,000 plus social media followers, right? And that doesn't even count my podcast, which we are downloading over 140 countries. And we've had some really notable mainstream guests, people that you see on TV, and some of the big names in entrepreneurship. So it doesn't even count any of that at all. So from all of those mediums combined, right, all social media and even the podcast, well, social media specifically, we drive less than 1% of our website traffic comes from social media, and a little bit more than that comes from the podcast, but not much. The biggest driver of traffic for us is 100% the blog. So I want to give you an example. In the last 8 months alone, I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to cut away to a picture here so you can see this. In the last 8 months alone, we doubled down on our blogging. We got really distracted by these ninja strategies and growth hacks and stuff like that, all the things that maybe you've been distracted by, the shiny object syndrome, right? So we were really focused on growing our downloads with the podcast, building our social media following, and so on and so forth. We just weren't seeing the numbers. So we went back to what I've known, what I've built multiple seven-figure businesses doing, with building relevant, searchable content via blog, and look at what happened. So as you can see here, this was July of last year on your left, moving to April of this year, right? So look at that huge jump. Right after October and December is when we started really engaging in our blog again. We saw almost an immediate 10x increase in our traffic once we started blogging. That has remained consistent throughout. We've been blogging continuously. I expect to see yet another jump. Now that we've been doing that for several months and continuously doing blogging once to twice, even sometimes 3 times a week, I expect to see yet another jump. But you can see right there, the only difference in that point that I circled there is literally the point by which we started really reinvesting in blogging. It was an immediate impact. I guarantee you there's nothing that you can do on any platform that's going to show you a tangible, measurable jump just like that. All right, and not only that, and this is really, really important because a lot of people don't put enough credence into this, but it wasn't just traffic, right? It's not just engagement. It's not just about likes and comments and shares and all these various things. Don't get me wrong. That's really, really good. It nurtures your audience. It turns fans into super fans. Really, really important. I'm not telling you to not do these various things, but here's the big thing. You need to focus on 2 things. If you want to talk to me about your measurements and your what's going on with your business, I want to hear 2 things. In addition to your revenues and your profitability, right? Those things aside, your financial milestones aside, traffic and email list. Those are the 2 things that I'm really going to be concerned about when you talk to me about whatever platform you're focused on. So in that same duration of time, so like roughly December-ish, end of last year, 2018 into now, this is early May of 2019, we have 3x'd our email list. So we've 10x'd our website traffic and we've 3x'd our email list from where it was just about 6 months ago. So huge, huge growth, and growth that we didn't see previously with doing what we were doing with just social media and just with my podcast. Despite those things really flourishing and doing well and getting engagement and so on and so forth, we just didn't see that kind of a tangible jump in both email list and with traffic to our site. All right, so I want to talk to you about something else, and this is really, really important. I've kind of been hitting around this, but I want to kind of break it down for you in terms of visuals because this is really important, and I've seen businesses die as a result of this. I want to make sure that you don't fall in that category. So it's called owned versus borrowed real estate. All right. So the example you're going to see here is a stadium. This was actually something that was taught to me by a really, really advanced and really wise marketer. So basically anything owned, he relates it to a stadium. Right. So once you get people in your stadium, it's easier to control where they go, where they sit, where they, you control that arrangement, that dynamic way more than if it's outside of your control, outside of your wall, so to speak. So getting people into your stadium, that's pretty much your website, right? Is getting them inside of that. You can really control what happens in that platform. The problem is if it's borrowed, right? It comes from outside of that. People walking all over the place, maybe they're tailgating this and that. It's difficult to kind of identify. I don't know where that person's sitting, right? If they come in the stadium, I probably know what their seat assignment is. I can come back to them, represent something else to them, right? Walk up and down the aisles trying to sell them something else because I know where they're located. If they're outside, they're all over the place. Maybe you see them and you never see them again, right? They just disappear and they're gone, right? So most of us right now, when it's just social media based, we're playing in that borrowed outside of the stadium realm where we need to focus on how do we get them in to our stadium, right? And we already talked about before in terms of conversions, right? So if you're only getting 1% of those people outside in that borrowed tailgate parking lot inside your stadium, probably not something you really want to focus your efforts on. You would say, I need a new strategy, right? So here's the thing. With putting up a blog, it's like somebody that's just out there all the time, or maybe it's like posting up on their phone saying, come inside the stadium, right? So you're driving them in without having to do all the hustle and grind work. So that's really the difference. And then also now we're going to talk about is what you can do inside of that platform that is your website and why that's so powerful, because you own the dynamic and every engagement that happens with inside your website, you control that far more than what you do with someone else's platform like Instagram, Facebook, and so on and so forth. So when a platform changes, and this is critical, when a platform changes, you are subjected to the change. A lot of people have seen this recently as I'm recording this. They have seen this with Instagram. Instagram now, the organic reach is way down. So a lot of people are seeing that their posts aren't reaching nearly as many people. They're not getting as much engagement. They're getting as many likes and comments and shares. So I guess you can't really share on Instagram, but they're not seeing that as much as they once were before. And it's really killing a lot of people's businesses because they've built an entire business on someone else's business. When that happens, you are subjected to whatever it is they decide to do. If they go kaput and go out, and that's the main source of lead gen for you, you're probably not going to make it either. And back in 2013, when Facebook did that, there were several businesses that actually experienced that same fate, where Facebook changed algorithmically, their business was gone within a matter of months. So make sure you're not one of those people. When you own your own real estate, when it's not borrowed, it really prevents that from being possible and from that happening. So now we're going to talk about some of the functionality, because I kind of referenced it before, but this is huge because with something like blogging, right, and driving them there, if you go to my blog, you'll see a lot of different places where I have people engaging. There's share options. There's opt-in, email opt-in options, right? I talked about building an email list. At the very bottom, you can click over to our sponsors. There's a lot of different resources there. I give a freebie away, right? There's a lot of different things going on that you just can't do on someone else's platform. I can't put a pop-up on my Instagram and say, download my free whatever as soon as you hit my profile. It's just not possible. It's hard enough to get into the profile as it is, let alone being able to have something pop up that's an offer that's unique to what you're trying to give to your ideal client avatar. So that's something you can control. Many things you can control inside of your own website on a blog that you just have no control of on someone else's platform. So one of the things we want to talk about is we can do targeting, right? So this is a huge, huge thing. So targeting, you can retarget people that like your page, right? So you can put advertisement up and so on and so forth if they like your page. But that's it. It's a very surface level. It's not deep. Whereas if people come to your website and they land on certain pages, they complete certain activities on your site, like opting in for your emails, like going to your cart, right? You can set up various triggers, so to speak, that will effectively tell you and put additional tags on somebody. When you retarget them, you can retarget people based on those certain behaviors or certain things they clicked or certain downloads that they actually took on your site in terms of freebie resources and so on and so forth. So a lot of people, what they'll do is somebody will go to a cart to buy something, they leave, they'll retarget them, maybe educate them a little bit further to counter the objections that they have about why they didn't buy it the first time, and then they'll make the sale as a result of that. And they can run splintered ads contingent upon the level of sophistication that person has with that specific offer that they're offering. So that's something huge that you just can't do. Everything you do with retarget or any kind of advertisement based just on an audience that follows you or likes you or a lookalike audience of those people is very surface level. So it's basically awareness type things versus really deep specific type behaviors where it's I'm retargeting you to buy something that you've already looked at or a page that you've gone to where I have a conversion metric type thing set up to where I can retarget you based on that so that I know specifically what it is you're looking for versus just general high level casting a large net and hoping that it's something that interests you. All right, so I do have some advanced tips and I'm gonna let you guys go as far as how you can also optimize your blog. I hope by now you realize why blogging is so important. One of the advanced tips that I would give you is to write a blog and then put something inside that blog like a YouTube video, or like I do also with both, with my YouTube videos and with my podcast embed player, so that you can actually listen to the podcast, watch the video, or read the long form blog as well. It gives you a lot of different options. It also gives you a lot of different doorways, so to speak, of people coming in and finding that same piece of content on 3 different mediums. So it really exponentially increases the chance of discoverability with all 3 of those. And it also nurtures them further and gives you a little bit of an added benefit of credibility. But the last thing I'll leave you guys with is, in terms of optimization on the site, is use something like Hotjar and install that on your website. Every single day I spend at least 5 to 10 minutes watching the recorded activity on my website. So if you go to my site right now and you're scrolling through a blog, which this one in particular, chrismichaelharris.com/EP187 is the blog that goes with this video. If you click over, it's going to immediately record any of the behavior that you exhibit on that specific page. So I can go back and see, this is where people are dropping off, this is what people are interested in. It starts building heat maps around that stuff so I can see where a lot of people are going when they go to my website. I can see the behavior that they're demonstrating. And I can also see what's not working on the website. This clearly is turning people off, or this is an area that's just, we need to reposition this is an area of focus, we need to move this around, or so on and so forth. So that's another huge benefit of why something like a blog is really powerful, because you're creating that additional doorway to your website and then being able to analyze and figure out not only what you're going to do on the tail end to retarget those people if you don't capture them in the front end, but also seeing those behaviors so you can tweak and modify that as you go so that you can take advantage of that and restructure it and optimize it so that it does get maximum results for your efforts. Hope this has been helpful, guys. If you like this video, make sure to like it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, make sure to share this with a friend, and also if you check out below in the description, we actually include a link. It's my freebie resource for just blogging 101 for your business. Make sure to grab that. It's 100% free. Just go ahead and grab that before you leave here.